Like maybe one more person that we're waiting on. So I'm just going to double check on that really quickly and then we'll get started. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get everyone checked in here quickly. I see that we have well, as I call your name, if you could confirm that the name on the screen is in fact your name. If it's not or something else, if you could tell me what your name is and how to spell it. Also, if you could let me know who you're representing here today. If you're a member of the applicant team, the owner, adjacent property owner, or something else. So I'll start with Martin Hamburg.
My name is correct, and I am part of the applicant team.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see we have someone under Lenovo.
Yeah, I am Sanjeev. I am also part of the team.
Okay, could you spell your name for me?
Sanjeev.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, and if you could spell your name for me.
As for Sierra, Alpha, November, Juliet, Echo, Violet.
Okay, I'm sorry, let me just double checking something here. I'm in a little trouble. Okay, I'm gonna try one more. I just adjusted my audio. Could you spell your first and last name? Could you go very slowly, and could you not use the Juliets? Use the actual number, the letters, if you could.
Okay, Sanjeev. SANJEEV. Gupta. GUPTA.
Got it. Okay, sorry about that. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have someone under GM Clarion.
Yes, hi, my name is Toby. I'm representing the property itself.
Okay. So are you a member, or are you a member of the company that owns this, or the LLC that owns
Yes,
this?
sir. Yeah,
Okay, Kiwi.
I'm at the moment, yes, I'm the manager of the property at the moment as well, the Cordian and Suites.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said your name was Toby?
Yes, Toby.
And is that your first name, last name?
First name, sir. First name, yeah. I'll spell the last name if you like.
Sure.
It's BHATNAGAR.
Okay. Great.
And
what's
I
that?
do have my colleague here, Charles Mahabir. He just walked in. He's representing the owners as well.
Hi,
Okay.
good afternoon. Charles Mahabir here, representing Kiwi Hospitality. How's everyone doing?
Doing fine. Do you guys intend on providing any testimony here today at this hearing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah. Do you intend on providing any testimony here today at this hearing?
Any testimony? What do you mean, like witnesses or?
So I'm sorry. This is a hearing today for me to determine and adjudicate whether or not a use variance should be granted for this property to allow an assisted living facility to be permitted. In order to do that and to administer the hearing, I'm going to be soliciting testimony from anyone who would like to speak on behalf or in favor of that use variance being granted. So do you intend on participating in that discussion at all?
Absolutely.
Excuse me, David, they are part of the applicant team. I think they're confusing you with a separate corporation. They're part of the applicant team.
Gotcha. Okay. So the reason I asked that question now is because if you do intend on providing testimony, you have to have your camera activated during that time. And so that's during the time you're providing testimony. So if and when that time comes, I'll ask that your camera be activated. Otherwise, I won't be able to take the testimony. Okay,
Sure, absolutely.
great. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. The last person we have here is Matt Lashide. Matt is in the zoning department.
Hey, David.
Welcome, Matt.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming.
All right. On the applicant team, are we expecting anyone else to join us here today, or are we ready to begin?
We are ready to begin.
Okay, fantastic. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll go ahead and get into it. So this is the November 15th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati. I'll be presiding over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20230164. That's 800 West 8th Street. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Now, we have several members here from the applicant team, so you all can orient that presentation however you'd like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's completely up to you how you want to orient that. Again, I would just ask that as you do speak that you're on camera. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. There's no one from the public here now. If someone does arrive midway through the hearing, I will provide them that opportunity. I'll also provide the zoning department for the city of Cincinnati to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report that they've already drawn up. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So again, if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So I will do that at this time. I'd ask for the two gentlemen that are on the one camera if they could try to fit into the frame at the same time. That'd be great. Need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. And Mr. Gupta, if you intend on providing any testimony, I need you to unmute and have you sworn in. I need everyone to answer out loud so it's official on the record. Yes, this has been challenged before by previous people, and it's caused us a big headache. So I go through all these in detail. So Mr. Gupta, if you'd raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr. Gupta, can you hear me? Is that right, Mr.
Yes,
Gupta?
I can, yes.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Who's going to be taking the lead here on telling me about this project, the background, the details, and then, of course, why I should grant the requested relief?
Absolutely. My name is Charles Mahabir, the owner's rep of the building. So I will start by making a kind of a large, broad overview of why we're seeking this use variance. Afterwards, I will introduce Dr. Martin Hamburg to talk a little bit more about specifics with the project as one of the partners in it. So may I begin?
Yeah, floor is yours. Thank you.
Again, my name is Charles Mahabir. I represent Kiwi Hospitality. I am their director of asset management as well as real estate development. So the subject property at 800 West 8th Street is obviously currently a hotel known as the Quality Inn and Suites in Cincinnati. The reason why we're seeking a use variance is because we believe it's no longer economically viable as a hotel. One, due to the property's location away from the central business district, approximately about 1.5 miles away. Also looking at, we have 4 hotels in the pipeline between now and 2024. That's going to bring on another 1,200 rooms into the market. And with this property, again, being away from the central business district, away from like your major Fortune 500 companies like Kroger and P&G and Western and Southern, and even with the convention hotel going up, we do not believe that we will benefit from that development. And especially before COVID, while this hotel was doing okay, after COVID, we just have not, quite frankly, been able to recover. And couple that with the rise in labor rates, the rise in operational costs, et cetera, we just do not foresee this property operating economically viable as a hotel. So we have to consider other options. The reason why we are considering senior healthcare, senior living, and once again, Dr. Martin can talk more about that, is because we've converted one of our hotels in Sharonville from a 285-room property into 165 independent living units slated to open at the end of this year, beginning in January, supported by market studies, a beautiful build out. So we believe that we can duplicate that here in Cincinnati at this downtown property, once again, supported by market studies. And then Dr. Martin Hamburg has a beautiful programming for this particular building that we believe will serve our senior population, as well as those with special needs in assisted living, especially in traumatic brain injury. That's not my area of expertise. So at this point in time, may I tag in my colleague, Dr. Martin Hamburg, to talk about the programming?
Sure.
Mr. Sturkey, I kind of assume that presentations must be very, very short. Can we afford 6 minutes? And I think I can tell you a lot about what's going on here.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You can have more than 6 minutes if you'd like.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Can I have also screen share?
Yep. That capability is enabled for you, so you can go ahead and start that.
I'm not sure whether I was successful.
You were. If you wanted us to be looking at the chart there.
Okay, so if I'm going to make it a little larger, as I said, only 3 things I want to show you. Unfortunately, I'm not getting the same screen as I had. Let me get this over here. Can you see where my mouse is pointing here?
Yes.
Good. So the term special needs assisted living is gaining in popularity. Most people think of basically the senior living space as being independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Special needs assisted living assumes the memory care space and about 1/3 of the assisted living space with high acuity patients closer to memory care. So we're going to be serving people with Alzheimer's disease, but everybody in memory care does not have Alzheimer's. There are non-Alzheimer's type dementias, but particularly this type, which is known as intensive assisted living and minimally cognitively impaired. This is pre-Alzheimer's disease. But IAL is a very big space, and it includes people who have suffered traumatic brain injury, neurovascular neuromuscular disorders, behavioral issues. The one that's the biggest one here is traumatic brain injury. And I'd like to just tell you a little bit about that. This is basically the continuum of care for people who have suffered traumatic brain injury. I won't go into the fact that traumatic brain injury is a terrible problem in this country. And maybe I have one slide here that would interest you. I'll deviate from what I was going to do just to show you this one. We have 1.5 million citizens per year who suffer brain injury. 250,000 require hospitalization. 68,000 die, and 85,000 have long-term disability needs. Across the whole country, we have about 2,000 non-hospital TBI beds. Ohio, the last time it was studied was 2014. It's going to be studied again next year. And they recorded over 6,000 TBI hospitalizations. About 20% of them required aftercare. There are less than 200 non-hospital TBI beds available. So there's a tremendous need for the services that we are proposing. This is kind of the continuum that a person with traumatic brain injury goes through, from acute care, which is in a hospital, and of course that's medical, to subacute, which is classically in a nursing home, and that is medical, and begins rehabilitative, begins trying to increase the capabilities that they have. And then that transforms into post-acute. And this is the first one that's licensed as an assisted living. And this is what we're going to be doing, where rehabilitation continues. And when rehabilitation can go no longer, it becomes habilitative, meaning let's get the most out of what the person can do. Transitional is extremely important, which continues habilitative and also begins at adaptive. And then they move into either an adaptive home with support or their real home. But this is a full continuum, and this is the part of the continuum that we're going to be offering. The only other slide I would show you is this one, and it basically shows you how we're using the building at 800 8th Street, which is perfect for our use. On the first floor, we're actually going to have a walk-in urgent care center. We will not operate this, but this will be done by a licensed Ohio urgent care center. Has not been selected yet. The entrance to basically the assisted living part will be on the second floor. And then the next floors, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, are technically all assisted living. Memory care, which is really Alzheimer's and non-Alzheimer's type dementia, and then intensive assisted living on 6 and 7. 8 is devoted to therapy services, which will serve this entire group. And then from 9 and above is TBI. This is post-acute care. And this is transitional care, if you remember that continuum. And the transitional care, they really are in apartments, and their community space is up on 12. So this is how the building is being utilized. Let me take any questions, Mr. Sturkey.
Sure. Yeah. Could you talk more about what or why the building itself and is particularly well suited for this type of use? Is it just because of the size or the amount of floors, or what?
Well, combination, and certainly we are making studio and 1-bedroom apartments. And actually the ownership group and Kiwi Hospitality have a lot of experience converting hotels to assisted living and other types of senior housing, independent living. I'm involved with a project which we're opening with them very shortly up in Sharonville. So it converts very well for the utilization. It has all of the life safety elements in it that we require. It has community space that we can use for some of our therapeutic services. Certainly one could build it from scratch, from ground, but it's economically better. And I think we will bring a lot of good things to this neighborhood. So the location is ideal. It's close to downtown. And we could convert it and offer these services somewhat less expensively, because it's going to cost us less to build it. It just seemed like a good use of that space. They were looking to repurpose it, and this seemed to be an ideal fit.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for you, Mr. Hamburg. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to provide?
No, just answer any questions that you have.
Okay, great. Anything from Mr. Gupta or Mahibar or Toby at this time?
Nothing on my end.
Sure.
I'm good, sir, at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just one question, and this is for anyone, but one of the standards that I need to evaluate here is whether the property could be put to any other economically viable use that's permitted in the zoning district. And so I guess the question generally is why is this a better use than something else that is permitted in the district, like converting this to, a residential multifamily or apartments or something like that?
Sure, I can answer that question. So I did a deep dive study into some of those other uses. So first, I'll start with Office Park. So literally across the street is the Gateway Plaza Office Park owned by Nair. So that sits directly across from us. Also, if you take a look at market studies, cumulatively over the last year, vacancy rates have increased cumulatively by about 13%. And so Office Park doesn't make sense. And so we would go from one non-viable economic use to another non-viable economic use as well, too. And so we all know what happened during COVID, where individuals started working more so remotely from home, not reporting to the office as much. So that doesn't make sense to us. Some of the other uses permit like recreational and entertainment and everything like that. If we had to keep it real, this is 8th and Lynn Street in the Queensgate industrial area. So I don't think that makes sense. Plus, if you take a look at downtown with what's been built down there, everything from the banks, just to downtown is really thriving. And so that's where everyone wants to be. So again, the Queensgate area to me doesn't make sense for any sort of recreational entertainment. And finally, to your point, for multifamily use, we actually did take a look at it. But more so, we were focused on probably about a year ago, looking at could we tap into more so the affordable living market. So we felt given the area kind of demographic and their neighborhood and economic studies, that could be a good place. So we did an exhaustive study into LIHTC credits. We had a couple of the major players within that space take a look at the project. And based on the scoring associated with that, they just said that wouldn't work and that would not qualify for LIHTC credits. So also combine that, we also have to take a look at our experience and kind of things, what we've done in our history. We personally, as a development group, have not done multifamily. Okay. We have done senior living. We've operated a community out in Texas. We're doing an adaptive reuse project up in Sharonville. So that we're very familiar with. On top of that, you have a pretty extensive market study done by PMD Services, which is one of the nation's premier experts on all things senior living and viability uses and demand studies. And this subject location just makes sense for that. And so that seems to me that it would be an easier conversion, especially to Dr. Martin's point, if we're looking to convert many of the existing hotel base into studios. That's a relatively easier build than doing a lot of one-bedroom apartments where you're going to have to cut through 6 inches of concrete, do a comprehensive structural study of the building from an engineering standpoint. Plus, the building was built in 1964. So then you're going to have to look from a construction standpoint, are we going to have to put in steel angles over all the holes, cut again through rebar, through 6 inches of concrete. And so from a conversion standpoint, senior living just makes sense.
If I could add also, Mr. Stuckey, I know that the order must be first that the owners try to build something within the existing zoning, if it could be viable. And I think they tried to do that exhaustively. Then the question is, what did they turn to? They turned to the special needs assisted living, particularly TBI care. And I would just want to indicate that I think one of the best models of what we're doing is a group called Neurorestorative. Neurorestorative operates nationally, but has only one facility in the state of Ohio, and that is up in Stowe near Cleveland. So this would be the same type of services finally offered in Southern Ohio. There is one in Lexington, Kentucky, but on our side of the river, this would be, I think, desirable. We will also fit in and help fill out Delhi post-acute services and tri-health rehabilitation. And we look, because we are extending what they do. We're not overlapping. We're not doing what they do. We're extending it into the post-acute and transitional area, and of course, offering Alzheimer's care. So I think bringing this to South Ohio, even, I don't even use the word Cincinnati, South Ohio would benefit a lot of families.
Okay, great. Thank you both for those answers. Okay, I think I'll jump over to Mr. Lashide from the zoning department to provide anything in addition to his staff report if you would like.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, David. So yeah, our review is basically what we've talked about today. A use variance is a little bit more difficult than some of the other variances that we review, because you really have to demonstrate that the building cannot be feasibly used for permitted uses within the CGA zoning district. That district it's odd that I think it's odd that it's right next to downtown. Typically that CGA zoning district is auto-oriented, more suburban style development, like strip malls, big box stores, restaurants with drive-throughs, gas stations, self-storage facilities. It's odd that it's here, and this building does not really cater to any of those uses. So I looked at what type of uses might you put here? And I'm sure I've not done the homework that our applicant team has done, but I just thought about it a little bit. So the first thought that I had was multifamily residential, and multifamily residential is actually not a permitted use in the CGA district. It's a pretty heavily commercial district, so that's not even permitted here. So to try to convert it to that, which was my first thought, would also require a use variance. We've talked about office maybe, but yeah, I'd have to fully support what the applicant said, that the desire and need for office has declined since COVID. And there's already a surplus of office around downtown. So I don't think that there's a need for additional new office at this location. I think the proposed use is appropriate here, although it's not permitted by right in the CGA district. The building itself is not really conducive to uses that are permitted in that district. So the options would be to demolish the building, to build something new that would be permitted here, or to use the existing building. I think the use that's proposed here is necessary and publicly beneficial, will help a population that's often not looked at in traditional development models. And I don't think it would have any negative impacts on neighboring properties. Don't anticipate a lot of noise or traffic or things that would be problematic. I do have one question. You mentioned the project in Sharonville. Is it the old Clarion north of 275?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with that project, and I've driven past it multiple times, and I think it's a good case study and a good example to see that you've already done something like this successfully in the area.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, yeah, looking at the uses that are permitted here and the building, I just don't think that they really line up. And the only course of action to put this building back into productive use would be a use variance. And reviewing the applicant's submitted materials, we're happy to support approval of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lashide. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Hamburg, could you just give me a little bit more clarification? Did you say that this type of assisted living there's not enough in Southern Ohio, or in Ohio in general, but in particular in Southern Ohio?
That's correct. By a whole ton.
Okay, gotcha. And that was a part of your application materials, right? Your full, is it the PMD market study?
That's correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I don't think I have any more questions. Anything from anyone on the applicant team in closing before we adjourn here today?
Not on my end.
Okay. All right. Great. So I tend to agree with you all. I think that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code on this particular project. So based on that, based on the application materials and the testimony here today, I am going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that, I put it in a PDF. I email it to everybody in the hearing here today, so you all will have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. Once you have a copy of that decision, Mr. Lashide can approve the zoning permitting, and you'll be good to go from a zoning perspective.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Any
Excellent. Thank you, Mr.
questions?
Cirque. Thank you, Mr.
Sure.
Lashide.
Any questions about any of that, guys?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the studies included in the application materials. That really does help make this decision a lot easier. So thank you guys for your very professional presentation.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project. Hope you all have a wonderful